Hello, my Richies, and welcome back to another episode of the Make Life Rich Movement podcast. My name is Sara. I'm your host. And in today's episode, we are not interviewing anyone. We're just going to discuss reparenting. Now, if you are very new to the inner child subject that you may have listened to last week with some of our episodes or the guided visualization that I posted, but reparenting yourself is one of those really powerful focuses of inner work that can truly change your life and allow it to blossom in ways you did not know were possible. Now, for me, reparenting came rather out of necessity of sorts because I had lost a parent. After my father passed away, there was a very deep detachment that happened from the thought that I had a father that would protect me, would tell me the answers to things, simple questions all the way up to scary things. Like that protection, that emotional protection that I had been used to my whole life was literally gone, like gone. And pretty immediately, I felt that void in a way that I later became aware of, presented me with an opportunity to reparent myself, because what I was looking for, I was no longer going to be able to get from that person. And I still needed that thing. So I had to give it to myself. There was such a great, like almost instant flip, because it was immediately apparent that my father had passed, and also adding in the layer of him being my best friend and just being the person that I went to with business questions, business stuff, brainstorming, going to smoke weed with, like everything. We were best friends. And there are many layers of things that I lost, but the thing that really hurt the most was just having him tell me everything would be okay and me believing it because he was my dad. And I had to find that resolve within myself. And I was only able to find it through reparenting. Through shadow work and through child work, I understood that there was an opportunity within all of us to reparent ourselves. And reparenting ourselves is something as simple as just recognizing that there is a part of you that didn't receive the love that it needed at the exact moment that it needed it. And only you can really know what that was that you didn't get, what that thing was that you needed. And now you have the opportunity to provide it to yourself. So let's just jump right on in. I have some detailed notes on this because I want to make sure that this isn't something you think is silly. And by the end of this episode, I want you to no longer feel that it is woo-woo if that's how you're receiving it. I want you to know that this is a really powerful mind shift that you can give yourself that can provide you, especially in times of crisis or feeling out of sorts, with the grounding that you need and that only you can provide yourself. So first, we want to start by understanding that self-parenting is a spiritual journey. And it's a spiritual journey because it involves a lot of assessment. It involves assessment over your past, what you'd been through in your life, maybe what your parents were or weren't able to provide for you in the moments that you needed most. Maybe you didn't have parents at all and you grew up in a system or a situation where you were responsible for yourself emotionally, providing that emotional support. And I want you to recognize that this work is sacred and this work is important and this work is something that you not only deserve, but you must do. It is a must if you wish to elevate in your life in a way that allows room for peace and understanding and acceptance of who you are, to fill the void of emptiness and longing and loneliness that we all feel when we think that we don't have that foundation and that safety system that the idea or the institution of a parent can provide. Now, recognizing as well that your inner child is a sacred aspect of your whole self that deserves the love and attention that you both got as a child and did not get, that you now need to supplement. And shifting from self-criticism to self-compassion is going to be one of the biggest foundations of your healing. I think for me, there were moments where I realized, like, wow, you are an asshole, like a supreme asshole to yourself. Speak to yourself in your head is abominable, and you would literally never speak to anyone this way. And there's something to that you really need to take a look at. And I was extremely critical of myself, extremely judgmental, and it took some reparenting there. And it wasn't necessarily that I had parents that treated me that way. It was quite the opposite, but I watched them treat themselves that way rather early on in a way that imprinted in me very deeply. And I have had many years, 4 or 5 years worth of just trying to be kind to myself and give myself the grace and like the room that I give everybody else, but didn't think I deserved for some crazy reason. So shifting from self-criticism to self-compassion was huge for me. It also gave me the ability to embrace the concept that I have the wisdom within myself to heal my own wounds. Like reparenting allowed me to really lean into my intuition and be like, yeah, no shit, you're thinking about that. There's something to it. And what's at the heart of it? Let's get to the heart of it, because the heart of this scenario, or the thing that triggered you or upset you or like sent you off or got your cortisol raised, there's something deep within that. There's a little teeny tiny seed that sprouted into something that causes you to react, or to think of times in the past where you reacted that way that still leave you unsettled. Reparenting also creates a meaningful ritual for you to be able to honor yourself and your commitment to this inner work. For me, my reparenting process was really reactive. It happened more in the moments, which was very frequently throughout the day, that I kind of needed to talk myself off a ledge or be kinder to myself, or, kind of just be like, why are we doing that? Let's take a look at that. Let's rethink that. How can we do that better? How can we do that kinder? How can we do that with less catastrophe? There's just so many ways in which approaching this has really blossomed and opened up myself to a lot more work that doesn't feel like work. It feels like a gift that I'm being given, that I'm allowed to use as a tool with myself to be able to keep elevating and going higher and higher. Now, how do we start this reparenting process? First, you want to be working a little bit on your inner child. You need to be friends with your inner child first as a child. You need to meet yourself where you were within the moments that have impacted you enough for you to be thinking about them, to want to revisit yourself at that stage. So if that is something you haven't done yet, you might want to pause here, go to last week's 3 episodes, and all 3 of them are going to get you set for this moment right here. So when we are meeting our inner child, we want to meet them with presence. We want to come to the scene being ready to work. So how do we do that? First, we start by learning to quiet your mind, whether it's with a few calm breaths or jumping into a space of, like mind mapping your body, getting into your mind-body connection, feeling who you are, feeling where you're at that day emotionally, and really just creating a space for connection. You need to be able to connect with yourself, to be able to connect with your inner little self that needs some help and some consoling and some love. So I like to use visualization techniques to communicate with the younger versions of myself. We have a visualization guided meditation that is just an episode back that you can listen to that will absolutely help you to get in touch with that person and that age of yourself that you think needs love at that moment. And then when you're meeting your inner child with that presence, we want to practice active listening when painful memories or painful thoughts or emotions start bubbling to the surface, because the purpose of this work is often really uncomfortable. There could be moments of suffering. There could be moments of grief, of sadness, of feeling super disconnected within your body. You may cry, you may sob and just be like, whoa, what was that about? Let it out. Honor that moment. Don't try to pick it apart. Just feel it. Just be present and feel it. And when you're done processing this emotion, it's helpful to have a journal or something by you, a worksheet that you can go through. There is one of those as well that you'll find in the show notes, a link to it to download it from my Flow Desk, my newsletter. Finally, you want to offer up to yourself the unconditional love and acceptance that you needed in that moment that this inner child version of you is showing you that you did not get. So whether that's needing more physical touch and you're kind of just like, sometimes I'll feel like I need a hug and I'll just put my hands here and I'll rub. Subsequently, this is also where some lymphatic major areas of traffic are. So sometimes I'll just squeeze my shoulders in and kind of rub in this area and rock side to side and just try to feel my heart chakra and warm it up with just like joy and love and peace and like whatever I can download from the source, the creator, God, to like fill my chest and just make me feel safe, at peace, at one with myself. But make sure you're offering up that love to that version of you that didn't get it, and let them know that you see them and that you're here now, that you're going to take care of them, and that you are going to provide them with what they didn't get. Doing it right in that moment, like right there, get to the heart of it. Now, something that's really helpful during this reparenting phase period of your inner work is rewriting that inner narrative for your inner child to be able to move forward with. We want to help that stuck version of us, whatever age it is, move forward so that they can join us on the journey and we can all live wholly together. So, identifying limiting beliefs that were formed during your childhood experiences is huge. You may not be aware of how much of your limiting beliefs have been around since a very early portion of your childhood. And that doesn't mean your parents treated you like shit and put them there. But maybe, like me, you saw your parents being very critical of themselves, and those things imprinted on you. And you need to take a look at it and realize, like, wait a minute, this isn't even my burden I'm bearing here. I need to reassess and like lighten my load by getting rid of these things that aren't mine, were never mine, no longer need to be mine, and move forward. Crafting new, empowering truths about yourself that align with your higher self and are helping to call you to that higher version of yourself that's ready to lean into this life that you're doing all of this hard work for is so, so important. And using affirmations as a daily practice to reinforce this new narrative can be very helpful. I have some mindset meditations that I will put in the show notes that have some hertz attached to them that really do help you to get off on the right foot every day of just evaluating first and foremost and stating to yourself that you are worthy of love and you are worthy of every beautiful thing that comes at you throughout the day, and just kind of helps to reaffirm that for yourself every morning. So check that in the show notes. You also want to be trusting your intuition to kind of guide you towards what this new narrative is for this authentic story that you are finally getting to not only look at with presence, but look at with a measure of humility. Just like really thankful that you've made it to this place that you've made it to with this growth, this deep inner growth, and that you are really worthy of where you're at, and you get to enjoy it and you get to revel in who you've become and who you're still becoming. I think it's a really, really beautiful gift to give yourself. Just the belief and the autonomy over the decision that, yes, you are worthy of the way that you feel for yourself. And it's okay to feel that way out loud. I think we've been told in the past by older generations that were so deeply wounded by those before them that it's braggadocious to love yourself outwardly and let the world see you loving yourself. And I think that is where we have gone wrong. Me allowing myself to feel my self-worth out loud has only allowed others to feel that they can do the same. And for those that think that what I'm doing is selfish, self-centered, just to be living my life out loud fully and completely, all I can do is pray for them. All I can do is send them light and love and hope that at some moment they realize that they are worthy of self-love and they are worthy of the reparenting and the beautiful treasure troves of just, gosh, sweeping change that comes from inner child and shadow work. Now, you want to make sure that you are creating sacred boundaries for yourself to keep those naysayers and those haters on the outside once you have begun your self-parenting work. You need to protect that inner child that's still healing from the things that happened to them before by allowing individuals that are similar to the trauma you've experienced, big T or little t, that are going to keep kicking the dust up while you're trying to work on who you are. And that's not to say we need to be snowflakes. I think you need to be very rigorously honest with yourself that life is hard and you need to get a helmet. But you're not always wearing a helmet, which requires the resilience within you that is being built with reparenting, right? We can plan ahead and have a helmet, but most times when life smacks you in the face, you don't have it on. You have to have that cloak of resilience that you've built up in yourself with this reparenting journey that comes from inner child work. Now, understanding your boundaries as an act of self-love for yourself is how I like to look at setting boundaries for those that aren't respecting my space, where I'm at, what I wish for myself, how I wish to be spoken to, how I wish to be treated. And that's okay. Don't let them thinking it's a rejection of them be a reflection of you. You're simply putting yourself first and protecting yourself, which is the measure of self-love and the observance of self-worth that you now know you have, that you've been asking for all along. So don't bite the hand that feeds you. Like, don't cut off your nose to spite your face by letting people that don't deserve this access to this beautiful person you've become, by treating you in a way that is demoting all of the growth and all the expansion you've made within this reparenting process. I think it's also really important to tune into your body's wisdom. Your body's going to let you know who and what and when doesn't deserve to have access to this version of you anymore. And do not trespass against those feelings on yourself for someone else's comfort. That is not self-love. That is demuting your presence, your desire, your safety, your needs over someone else's just to make them feel comfortable. Life's hard. They need to wear a helmet too. And they clearly haven't done any of their self-resilience work. There's no reparenting being done there. You do not need to placate to children. You placate to your inner child, and you serve her by saving her and keeping her away from those that wish her harm because they are jealous of the work that you're doing. That's a really hard truth to accept. And it's a hard thing to hear. And it's a hard thing for me to say because I have those people in my life as well. But it doesn't mean that you're communicating your thoughts from a place of inner strength is much better than allowing someone to trample over you because of you letting your inner fear take over. And when you do put these things in place, celebrate those small wins. It gets less and less awkward. Trust me. As the avoider of avoiders for interpersonal relationship issues, the boundary setting has almost gotten pleasurable at this point, and not in a masochistic way and not in a way that makes me feel like I'm enjoying manipulating others. No, I am enjoying feeling the bass in my voice stand at attention for me and take guard to the fences of my heart when I need it to, because I've made it like muscle memory. That's all I can hope for you, friend, is that your reparenting journey allows the inner parent within you to stand up subconsciously without you even knowing it in those moments when you need it. But we can only find that version of us through this kind of inner child work and this reparenting that goes hand in hand. Now, what are some daily practices for nurturing your whole self while you're going through this reparenting and inner work phase? First, we want to be setting morning intentions for your day. The last 3 episodes have a lot of practices that you can do to help you on your way with this. So I don't want to stick to too much here. Creating your personal sanctuary first and foremost, physical or mental, when your inner child feels safe is great for the reparenting portion of you, but there are going to be times where the parent in you is really frustrated with the lack of growth that the inner child in you is making. And this is one of those moments where, much like having a child or even a pet, you need to give yourself grace for the moments where you kind of creep up and freak out a little bit and be like, come on, like it's okay. It's going to happen. I still do it often at this point. And those are the moments where I laugh at myself. I give myself grace as the parent of myself. And then I turn right back around and I deal with that wound that was flaring up a little bit that got me so hot in the pants where I freaked out. It's a funny thing to do, but when you do it and you start to do it often, it's amazing how quickly you tap into these parts of yourself. And they feel very much like independent relationships from the person that you are standing in front of yourself while doing these things. I am just really excited to go a little bit deeper on this topic this week. There were some issues with scheduling and interviews, so you'll notice that there are no interviews this week. We have 2 beautiful interviews coming up for you next week, but we're just going to dive a little bit deeper into the reparenting topic this week. So you will have an episode on Thursday that is going to give you a guided visualization for the reparenting process, to kind of help this become a little bit more tactile for you in the future. And then it's an episode that you can revisit time and time again to be able to go through that process for yourself. And then on Sunday, during our Sunday strategy sessions, we're going to walk through some reparenting practices specifically that will come with a journal worksheet that you can utilize for your reparenting practice. My Richies, it has been an absolute pleasure. I'm so excited to have all this extra attention with you this week. I hope you enjoy it. And as always, make life rich.